Hi guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're going to take a look at a Sanrenmu knife, or Sanrenmu. This is a slip joint knife, and it's not really a flipper. You have to really try hard to get that to happen. It looks like it's a flipper with a little arm right there, but that's more of a finger protector because it's a slip joint, so that when you're using the knife, if the slip joint slips, it bumps into your finger there and doesn't come down and slice into your finger instead of bumping. It's a sub 3-inch knife, so my friends in the UK and other people around the world that live in places where there's laws against locking knives and there's laws against having knives that are too long and all those kinds of complications in life that leave you with something like this in your pocket instead of something bigger and what the rest of us would say better, you're left with one of these. This is a knife that I'd like to review today. This is the Sanrenmu 7105 SUX P1H-T2. It's got a long kind of a winding name like that. It's a windrunner design by for Sanrenmu, and it's a knife that I've enjoyed carrying. It's a multi-tool. It's got a little extra bit there, lots of belly, and if you're interested in a knife like this, stick around and we're going to give this the full review. I've rather enjoyed this knife since I got it. I've had it for about two months or so. It's a knife that I've carried a fair bit. I really have no aversion to slip joints at all. I grew up with slip joints, as many of us did. The traditional kind of multi-blade knives that, the Stockman knives, the 3-bladed knives that a lot of us grew up with, those of us who are, in the middle of our lives or in the last half of our lives or so. And slip joints, they're good knives. There's absolutely nothing inherently, super dangerous about them. Although there's quite a bit of a fear in a lot of people with slip joints, I just don't see it. But that's probably because I grew up learning how to use them and learning how to use them safely. I've never had a slip joint knife close on me accidentally without intending it to while I was actually using it and working with it. I've had it happen to me while I'm playing with a knife. But then again, I've cut myself with, frame locks while I'm playing with them, axis locks while I'm playing with them, compression locks while I'm playing with them. Whatever kind of lock you have on a knife, that kind of knife, while I've been playing with it, I've had it bite me. But in actual use and in the times when I'm actually doing something productive with my knife or just simply, getting something done, I've never had a slip joint close on me and go, oh, I cut myself. It just doesn't happen. Mostly because the pivot point is here, and when you're cutting, you're pushing in that direction, whatever you're cutting, or at worst, you're going this way. Either you're going away from the pivot in that direction, or you're going into the pivot, the stop pin, that way. People just don't cut going this way because the cutting edge is over here, not here. So you have to hit something really hard inadvertently to make it start to close on you. It's just a very rare occurrence. Of course, there's going to be exceptions. Everybody knows a story of somebody who hurt themselves with a slip joint knife. And, that's how those kinds of stories get passed around. And it's that way in every area of life. A small minority has something go wrong with something, and then, a big issue gets made out of it. I won't get into all those different kinds of things, but there's reasons why we have stickers on knives saying that they're sharp, and labels on coffee saying that it's hot, and all of those kinds of things come from a minority of instances. It's not the average, it's not the norm. Slip joint knives are, in my opinion, quite safe. So this is the Sanrenmu 7105. It's less than $10. You can buy it at GearBest in this blue and black, or in sort of a coyote tan and black as well. The blue one is, like 7 or 8 cents more than the the tan one. Both of them are just under $10 in US dollars, and then a few dollars more when you put them into Canadian dollars. I do not know who Windrunner Design is. All I know is that the only place I've seen it is with Sanrenmu, and the knives that have that Windrunner Design logo on them are generally knives that I like quite a bit. This knife has Sandvik steel on it. That's one of the things that drew me to it, other than the fact that it's a Sanrenmu and a Windrunner Design. I really like Sandvik steel. Sandvik steel is done quite well. Yes, it is a budget steel, but it's a very good budget steel. And this is the older 12C27, and the thickness of the blade here is 1/10 of an inch, 2.5 millimeters. We'll just go through the specs here. The cutting edge here is 2 5/8. That's from right where my fingernail is now, that way, 2 5/8 of an inch, 6.7 centimeters. The thickness of the steel just behind the grind is 0.0165 inches, which is 0.42 millimeters. So it's a fairly light, so fairly thin steel behind the grind, which on a knife this size makes perfect sense. We got a nice hollow grind here and drop point, so the steel kind of, and then we've got belly, 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 end of knife. And so it's a nice curved cutting edge entirely. The thinness of the cutting edge and the curve on the big belly makes this a really good slicing knife. The weight of this knife is nice and light. I'll put it right on the screen right here. I forgot to write it down in my notes. I remember weighing it, but I don't remember. The thumb studs are put far enough back so that you can cut really well with them. But this knife, being a slip joint, isn't intended to, be made to open like that. You have to do quite the hard flick of the wrist in order to get it open. It's really a protection right there so that your knife won't close over your hand, as I mentioned before. And this works really well. The slip joint on this knife has got a very strong detent. It's got 2 little detent arms, one on each side of the pivot here. And they've got little detent balls that go on the end of the tang of the blade, and they stop it from unlocking. You can hear it when they open all the way. It's quite the sound. And then you unlock it, and there's no stop point in between. It just goes all the way to the closed position. And then the detent comes on the other side of the tang of the knife there and holds it. So it's quite strong in holding it closed, and it's quite strong when it's locked to keep it from inadvertently going to close on you. Really good design for that way. I like how Sanrenmu did that. The pivot here has 2 phosphor bronze washers in it, which I like, that help it keep it smooth. I've not taken this knife apart. I've not adjusted it. I've not had to lube it. I've done nothing to this knife except for use it. The rest of the specs here, the handle is 3.5 inches, which is 9 centimeters. When you open the knife, it's 6 1/8 of an inch, which is 15.5 centimeters. And the thickness of the handle, not counting the pocket clip, is right at about 1/2 inch, which is 1.2 centimeters. The handle material here is PA66 plus GF. What does that mean? Well, this is an injected molded nylon, this blue area, or dark gray, whatever color you think it is. In person, it's a really deep dark blue, sort of almost a purplish kind of dark blue. A really rich kind of color without being bright or vibrant at all. It's a really nice color. I like it a lot. So it's an injected molded nylon with glass fibers in it, which make it quite strong. And this black area, they don't say what it is. I believe it's TPE, thermoplastic elastomer, because it's soft. You can take your thumbnail and you can push in it, and it's sort of a soft kind of rubbery, plasticky, rubbery stuff. It gives you a tremendous amount of extra grip. And you'll see the close-up picture of this, the fit and finish of all these parts where they meet each other is done very well. All the hardware on here is Torx screws. The pocket clip is right side, tip down only, and you have you've got probably 3/4 of an inch, 1.6 centimeters of knife sticking out of your pocket if you use the pocket clip. On a knife this size, I tend to take the pocket clips off of them once I'm done reviewing them, and I use them as pocket droppers. That means I just drop them into the bottom of my pocket, and when I need a knife, I reach down to the bottom of my pocket and I pull it out and I use it. I don't very often use a pocket clip like this, like putting it in the pocket and having it sticking out, and so it really doesn't bother me that it's tip up or tip down or whatever. That being said, it would be good, it wouldn't be that hard for them to make the option of putting this pocket clip on the tip up position, because I know there's some people that would like that, and it really wouldn't have cost that much more production and engineering to do that. So it's too bad that that didn't happen. The lanyard hole is quite small. It's just big enough to use paracord. If you heat up the end and you make it nice and tight and small, you can push it through there. It's like a tunnel because of this back spacer. I believe that's G10, that black material there. They do not say what it is. I don't think it's ABS, but it might be the same kind of PA66 with glass fiber, just in black. I'm not sure. But once you get your paracord in there, you just have to push it all the way straight through. Chase it with a toothpick or something to help get it through. This is, I almost called it a multi-tool, but it's not really a multi-tool because it only has one tool coming out. But that tool has got two functions. You've got your can opener and you've got your flat driver. You could also use that to do some light prying instead of using the tip of your knife. I always suggest to people, never use your knife to pry. There's enough other good pieces of steel available for your pocket that you shouldn't have to use your knife to pry. In my teen years and in my young adult years, I broke enough tips off of knives that I've learned the lesson. I don't pry with my knives anymore. I just value my knives too much, even if they only cost $10 US. So this tool just on the one side works quite well. It's also on a slip joint. It's got a little nail nick right there. And it's interesting in that a lot of these knives have it that you reach in from the outside and you pull up. This one you have to reach to the inside, which is a little bit tighter there. And some of my nails just don't fit to reach in there because I keep my nails quite short. But there you have it. It's a good tool. It works well. It's easy to open a bottle or whatever with this, and the flat works really well. No problem there. So that's all the specs and stuff. What do I think about this knife? I find this knife to be really, really useful. The shape of this handle is one that it fits in the hand very well. It's really comfortable in the hand knife. You've got all this 3D texture here to give you some grip, and then this, I believe, TPE to give you extra grip. You want to see how well this thing cuts? Well, then let's try that next. I've got some USB cable here from a cable that I had a while back that died on me, and it just slides through any kind of cable with a lot of ease, and you can cut by just doing pushing down cuts. Now let's see if we can cut some paracord with this thing. I'm going to have to order some more paracord soon, for these tests go through paracord pretty quick because I tend to do that 4 layers of paracord test, right? And so I'm going to try to just push through instead of slicing through this stuff, and we'll see how well it works. That works very, very well. And as you can see here with this paracord, it's that 7-strand 550 paracord. It's easy in the hand. It's light. Very functional. It's got a strong tip. It's got a very pointed tip. I'll give you a close-up of that tip. It's a comfortable little $7 knife. Sorry, $10 knife. 9 something. If you like this video, That's regardless of if you want this knife or not, because I know some of you are just going to say, there's no way I'm buying a slip joint. But if you like the video, like the quality of the review, and you know the job that I've done, please click on like. Share this video with anybody that you know might be looking for a slip joint kind of knife. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. And if not, I'd like you to consider subscribing. And remember to always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.